Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today we're going to go ahead and partake in what I guess we're calling the 2025 Comic Book Reading Goal Challenge or list video. I got this idea from Day over at Omni Nation Comics. Huge longtime friend of the channel. In fact, he was one of the warmest and first people I met on this online comic book space. If you have not checked out his video, if you've not checked out his channel, I highly encourage you to go check out Omni Nation. Definitely say hi and what up to Day. Give him a subscribe and a comment. I'll try to link that video I'm talking about from him on this video. I know another couple people have done this very video concept after Day, like BJ over at Comics Are Dope, and I think there might be a couple more coming out, so stay tuned. But yes, this is a list video where I'm going to be talking about some of my comic book reading goals for the remainder of 2025. I don't know if I'm going to get to all of it, but these are definitely on my short list of stuff I really want to finish, or in some cases, let's be honest, finally finish, because I've been trying to finish for a while. But yeah, this was a really fun one to put together. I can't wait to talk about them all. For this video, I think I selected all omnibus editions, so if you're a fan of the omnibus format, you're going to get a lot of that today. And as always, if you want to pick up your own books, check out our channel sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. There's a link in the description. If you want to get any books, you can use my discount code, TheComicBookReport, to save $2. If you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but a great way to support the channel. Thanks everyone, now let's get started. First up on my to-be-read list, in no particular order, we have Avengers by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus Volume 2. I've had this on my shelf for a while now. I was a gigantic fan of his run on Fantastic Four, and I know some of the narrative even continues on through this run in Avengers, and ultimately culminates with his run on Secret Wars. And with that Secret Wars Omnibus coming out, while I really enjoyed Secret Wars by itself, I want to get to that Omnibus, but to do that, I thought it was finally time to finish the Avengers run proper. I just recently finished the Avengers by Hickman Omnibus Volume 1. I plan to do a full review of that on the channel in the coming weeks, but for right now, I just have to say I am in the Volume 2, so I'm in the home stretch here. I am loving my read-through so far. This has been such a terrific run. Volume 2 is starting a bit slower than Volume 1, but I can't wait to ramp up the pacing again. I'm sure it's really going to get there as we approach Secret Wars. I've said on the channel a couple times, but I'm a huge fan of Jonathan Hickman. I love his kind of epically scope, layered, cerebral storytelling, and all he brings, especially here in a lot of his Marvel runs. I mentioned Fantastic Four already, I mentioned Secret Wars this. I could also mention works like House of X, Powers of 10, another huge favorite of mine from Hickman. He's also done a lot with the new Marvel Ultimate Universe. I've been really loving Ultimate Spider-Man from him recently. But yeah, this Avengers run I've had on my shelf since these omnibuses were reprinted, I believe back in 2024 if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure why I slacked so much with this, but I'm back on now and I am hooked. Really enjoying it and hope to get this reviewed, this Volume 2, as well when I complete it, hopefully before the end of the year. Definitely on my to-be-read or TBR goal list for the year, hoping to finally finish out this run so I can say, hey, I've read this, I've read Fantastic Four, I've read Secret Wars, and wow, Hickman, just what a beast. But yeah, really fun here. A lot of cool science fiction aspects that he brings into the Avengers as well. So for fans of that genre, if you want to experience an Avengers run, this is definitely one I could point you to as well. Okay, next up on my to-be-read list, this is Spider-Gwen Omnibus Volume 1. Yes, this book has been long out of print, though I do think we've gotten a modern Marvel Epic collection or two in paperback format for those that want to read some of the issues that are collected here. But this was a run I was really interested in, especially after watching Into the Spider-Verse all those years ago on the silver screen. But yeah, I was really fascinated by this character. I really didn't know much about her. When I saw that she had an omnibus, I went ahead and finally picked it up. I began reading it as I usually do when I get an omnibus in the mail. I'll read a couple issues and then from there I'll decide, do I want to keep reading or do I shelf for now and maybe prioritize others and then try to kind of get through incrementally when I can. And that has been what has happened with Spider-Gwen. I've had this book now for a couple years and I'm still making my way through. I'm maybe a third of the way through this omnibus, give or take, but I have really enjoyed what I've read so far. She's a really fresh kind of character, feels like a very modern character in a good way. I really enjoy Spider-Gwen. I like that this is one part Gwen Stacy, but I also like that we blend it with the multiverse element, so she's not the Gwen Stacy I was used to in 616. I like her persona as Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider or Spider-Woman. For a newer character, she's actually had a lot of monikers throughout the years already. We'll call her Spider-Gwen for the sake of this video. But yeah, really like her. I think that visually she has one of the best superhero costumes out there. I love the hood with the eyes coming out of it, the cut of it, the design of it. It evokes Spider-Man or Spider characters, but while feeling fresh and unique. And I like that we have a really noteworthy character. Like I said, I think the Spider-Verse film or films also really brought a ton of people, like myself, to this character. I am happy to say what I've read of this run so far, I've really enjoyed as well. I think the art is an absolute standout. Visually, it's really modern, gorgeous. It has kind of a pop art or modernist kind of feel to it. I really love it. The designs as well for all the characters, not even just Gwen, just really pop. They really stand out. Really high saturation with colorists as well. Really, really beautiful stuff. Can't wait to hopefully finish this out. Next up for my 2025 reading goals, Fantastic Four by Mark Waid and Wieringo Omnibus. This was another one of my most anticipated releases of 2024. I picked it up and I wanted to just burn my way through it. I'm a huge fan of Fantastic Four, and this was one of the big runs I just really missed out on for the most part. I read the first handful of issues in trade paperback once upon a time, but this was a run I kind of missed out on. I was hoping for an omnibus reprint. We finally got it. I was so eager. I love Mark Waid. He's one of my favorite comic book writers. And yet when I picked this up again in Omnibus, I started going through it. I really liked it. And then for whatever reason, I shelved it. I'm not sure if I went ahead and prioritized some of my sponsored selections, but this kind of just got buried. I'm looking back at it now, and with the Fantastic Four First Steps film imminent to come out, I've just been thinking about Fantastic Four a lot more recently. And this is a run that I just really need to finish. This has been an incredible run so far. I will admit, Wieringo's artwork initially didn't grab me. It felt a little bit too rounded or cartoony animated for my usual tastes, and yet the storylines were really mature and dark in some ways, and I was just really surprised to see that with the kind of more rounded, cartoony looking art style. It was actually surprisingly complex and still really beautiful to behold, and so this is a run, again, really enjoying it so far. I really see why so many people, this is their favorite Fantastic Four run. I'm not sure if I'm going to give it that title for myself personally. It's going to be hard to top Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and everything that Hickman did. But yeah, I think it's easily going to be amongst my favorite Fantastic Four runs. Really can't wait to read it. I should say as well for this video, I try to avoid any to-be-read or must-read lists with any sponsored content. I'm really thankful to have a bunch of comic book sponsors and sponsored book reading experiences, but I thought it would be fun for this video to pick just purely personal, fun reading choices that I just want to finish for myself. Not because I'm reviewing it for a sponsor or because it's the newest, shiniest thing, but because these are books I've picked up that are just on my list that I have personally wanted to make my way through. Anyway, that was just another part of choosing what books I picked on this list, because believe me, there's many more that I hope to finish by the end of the year. But again, this is my personal short list of a couple omnibuses, and yeah, let's just keep the list going. Okay, next up, embarrassingly so, we have Spider-Man 2099 Omnibus Volume 1 by Peter David and Rick Leonardi. So I am a bit embarrassed to have this on the list because I think that I had a video talking about books I really need to finish a long time ago, and this was one of the premier choices, and it's still on the list, and that might be the case for a few more selections in this video, but rest assured, this is still a run I really want to make my way through. Tragically, we did lose Peter David, just such an incredible comic book talent. I know he lost his battle with some of his health issues, so, please condolences to his family and all those who really cared for him, especially as a creator. Absolutely incredible comic book writer. But I think because he was in the news cycle recently after his passing, I've just been really reassessing or looking at a lot of his runs and things I've been wanting to finish out, and this is at the top of the list for me. I really want to make my way through the rest of his Spider-Man 2099 content. I've loved what I've read in this book so far. This is a massive omnibus, and I think that that's why it's taken me a little bit longer to get through. I think it came out around the 90s as well, so narratively it's a little more dated, and yet it's still so fun. For those that don't know, the Spider-Man of 2099 is, as it sounds like, a Spider-Man of the future. Not Peter Parker or Miles Morales, no, this is Miguel O'Hara, and he lives in, 2099. He gets his Spider-Man powers in a bit of a decidedly different way, and it's just really a fun take on the Spider-Man mythos. It is to Spider-Man what Batman Beyond is to Batman, and I just think it's a really striking series. The art from Rick Leonardi as well is really iconic and interesting. I think that this is one of the best Spider or superhero costumes, bar none. I am such a huge fan of the Spider-Man 2099 outfit. The supporting cast of characters are interesting, the villains as well. Some are kind of returning from the original Spider-Man, or are kind of takes on them, or evolutions of the idea or character, and overall the 2099 universe or branch of the Marvel Universe is just a real interesting sci-fi kind of dystopian landscape. Anyway, definitely on my list to check out. I think especially, again, losing Peter David, I just really am putting it higher on my list of ones I really want to finish out. Next up for our reading goals for the end of the year, I'm going to talk about a recent omnibus that I did an unboxing for not too long ago. This is Silver Surfer Return to the Spaceways Omnibus from Marvel Comics. This is the Steve Englehart era for Surfer. It takes place after the Solo series by Stan Lee. And yeah, this is an incredible era for Silver Surfer. It's like late 80s, early 90s, like 1990 I think is where this ends out. But yeah, a really fantastic run here. I had read a good handful of these issues across a couple Epic collections that Marvel released, beginning with Epic Collection Freedom, which I think I did an unboxing for as well on this channel. At any rate, this was easily one of my most anticipated releases for 2025. This is a first printing for this particular omnibus. A fun note as well, while they call it the Return to the Spaceways Omnibus, you could consider it a Silver Surfer Omnibus Volume 2, as it essentially picks up for his solo content directly after the run collected in Volume 1. But yeah, this is a beautiful omnibus. Again, late 80s kind of comics over at Marvel. We have some incredible creators throughout this as well. We even have the miniseries Parable from Mobius, or maybe it's a one-shot, I'm not really sure, but incredible work there. But this is a title I've been really eager to get when I heard they were releasing this omnibus. I actually sold and upgraded from my Epic collections. Silver Surfer is one of my favorite Marvel characters, just absolutely. I think he's a really underrated character, and I hope that this omnibus will expose a whole new group of people to this character. Maybe omnibus collectors that maybe haven't dabbled too much with Silver Surfer will pick this up out of interest. I think this is only the third Silver Surfer specific omnibus they've ever released at Marvel, along with the Volume 1 and of course the incredible run by Dan Slott and the All Reds. But yeah, really excited to see this. I hope this sells out and a lot of people get hooked so we get subsequent omnibus volumes for this character. But yeah, easily on my short list, primarily because he's one of my favorite characters, and again, this was just one of my most anticipated releases, so hoping to finish it and then hoping to review it on this very channel. And that actually reminds me, if you'd like to see a full review of any of the omnibuses I talk about in today's video, let me know. Maybe that'll be my added encouragement to try to finish out some of these reads. Alright, next up we have a DC Comics omnibus, and this is actually one of my newer pickups as well. This is Nightwing Rebirth Omnibus. This is the Rebirth era for Nightwing, or at least the start of it. This takes place after the Grayson Super Spy Omnibus, for those wondering. And admittedly, after I finished reading the Grayson Omnibus, and actually just recently finished the Nightwing Prince of Gotham Omnibus, which was the solo Nightwing run preceding Grayson, I want to complete this one because then I'll have an unbroken reading history for Nightwing in solo series in omnibus format. DC Comics is finally giving Nightwing some love in these collected editions, and I have really enjoyed just delving deeper into this character. For those that maybe don't know, Nightwing is Dick Grayson. This is the original Boy Wonder or Robin for Batman, who graduated and picked up a kind of mantle and hero kind of identity in his own right as, of course, the titular Nightwing. This is the Rebirth era though, so it takes place after the New 52 era over at DC Comics, takes place after the DC Rebirth kind of one-shot, but this really restores the mainstream continuity or canon for the DC Universe, and this is just a really exciting time for Nightwing. After coming off the heels of his Grayson Super Spy era, where, you guessed it, he was a James Bond-like super spy, this is him returning to his own, kind of spandexed costume as the hero Nightwing in earnest, and it brings him back into the fold with the Bat family a bit. We get him caught up with the Court of Owls in some intriguing ways, and he just kind of has all his own adventures. This is mostly written by Tim Seeley as well, who was one of the main series writers of Grayson, so this really fits in nicely after Grayson. If you like me, you enjoyed that run, but this is also just a massive DC omnibus. This was one of my most anticipated releases for this year as well, though I must admit I did prefer the Prince of Gotham omnibus. That was higher on my list, but now that I've read that, like I said, this is really in my crosshairs for the next Nightwing book I really want to finish. Will I be able to accomplish that? I guess time will tell. So far I am really enjoying this book. I may be a quarter of the way through it, give or take, but yeah, so far it's been really fun. A lot of great artists on this, definitely one I recommend, and I think for all these reasons it is really on my reading list for 2025. And next up on our list, and this is actually going to round out the list today, this is the Superior Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1 by Dan Slott over at Marvel Comics. So this was another big release, I think last year in 2024. I had heard almost unanimously great things about Superior Spider-Man, which if you don't know, it is the mind of Dr. Otto Octavius, Doc Ock, in the body of Spider-Man. He vows to become a superior kind of Spider-Man, but it basically turns Spider-Man into a full-on anti-hero bordering on villain, but then eventually becoming more noble, ? It's a really fun kind of shifting of the status quo for our favorite wall crawler in so many ways. Again, I had heard really positive reception about this era. I know that this was a really big wishlist item for many Spider-Man omnibus fans out there, and that was definitely one of the draws to this book. We had a lot of out-of-print Superior Spider-Man collections for a long time. When they solicited this omnibus, I knew that this would be one I tried to pre-order, and I did. I dove into the book and I really enjoyed the first handful of issues, and then for whatever reason, like was the case for so many of the books in this very video, I just kind of stopped, and I don't really know why. I actually picked this off the shelf recently and read another issue or two, and honestly I can feel myself getting drawn back into it. I really would love to complete this. I know that they've solicited a volume 2 for Superior Spider-Man in omnibus format, I think coming out next year in 2026 if I'm not mistaken. This is the first main run of Superior Spider-Man. Omnibus Volume 2 picks up kind of subsequent appearances and sequel series and things like that. But yeah, this run's been a lot of fun so far. I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man and honestly Doc Ock, so the fact that you kind of meld those characters together for this, I'm definitely intrigued. I've heard, like Grayson, the formula maybe doesn't sound like it's going to be hit, and yet here we are, Dick Grayson as a spy instead of a costume vigilante. That's not going to work, and it kind of does with Grayson. That series was awesome, as I just talked about, and I've heard the same thing here. What, Doc Ock as Spider-Man? That makes no sense, and yet it's also awesome, and what I've read so far of this, I can definitely attest to that. I really am hoping to finish this out finally, though, because it's just a fun ride, and if I decide to pick up the Volume 2, I definitely need to read this. Okay, and that is my 2025 comic book reading goal or to be read list, for the rest of this year. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it, honestly. I'm looking at it and it feels like I've bitten off more than I can chew. I am a huge fan of this medium and omnibus format specifically, but sometimes I collect faster than I can finish. I always get the omnibus, open it up, and at least read a handful of issues when able, and then sometimes they get shelved, and I'll incrementally read a couple issues here and there on a given night, but sometimes I look at it and I'm just like, I gotta finish these. And so this is my short list, again inspired by Day Day over at Omnimation Comics. Consider this also kind of a confessional video. No, I do not always finish everything I pick up, certainly not right away. Some books I just burn through. Sometimes, again, I prioritize other reads, or the new shiny thing comes in, or I focus on sponsored videos. But yeah, just for me, these are all runs I want to finish out. Obviously a lot of Marvel here. I am a Marvel fanboy first and foremost. But yeah, still a lot of reads here that I'm hoping to eventually close out. I enjoyed putting this together. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you've read any of these runs, if you can recommend them, if you'd like me to review them upon completing them. I'd love to hear all about it in the comment section. I'd also like to know, what are some of your comic book reading goals through the end of the year in 2025? What are books that you've put off finishing? Do you kind of procrastinate like I do sometimes with this? Let me know all about that in the comments. And again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you again for Day Day for coming up with this video concept. And until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, those comments we talked about, and maybe share this video with a friend. Thanks everyone, bye.